All right, guys. So now we're going to dive into establishing your buy box because nothing is going to be more important than your criteria when you're looking for deals. So that way you can actually gain traction and start to get enough deals into the top of your funnel so that you can screen, analyze, and offer on them so that you can result in getting the deals under contract. So we'll talk more about that funnel as we go along. But at the top of that is your buy box or your criteria for the deals that you're pursuing. So we're going to walk through an example of criteria that I've used to purchase my deals and the lens that I look through to screen these deals. And this will be important for you, like I said, because you don't want to be looking at all these different properties, right? Properties with restaurants and with spas and that are too big to start. They might be $5 million or more, and you might not have the investor base to even take down a deal like that. So why would you put that into the top of your funnel, waste time on deals like that you're not going to be able to close? So you really want to clarify what it is that you're looking for so you can be clear with other investors that are going to potentially send you deals or invest in your deals themselves. And when you talk to brokers, like when you're looking for your lead sources, you need to be able to describe to these people that are going to help you find deals what it is that you're actually looking for. So I want to show you guys this. This will be a good way to visualize this. So I've got the buy box or the crystal clear criteria, CCC. So here's an example of mine, and this is 12 to 50 unit underutilized hospitality assets or assets that can legally be converted to STR use and are zoned properly and that are also outdated, worn, or have operational inefficiencies that I can force the appreciation and raise the NOI. So that's what I'm looking for, right? And yours should be similar. And I say 12 to 50 unit, like that number is less important because it's really a revenue metric that you're looking for. Because you could have a super high producing 10 unit that makes 100,000 per unit per year, produces $1 million. You can have a full staff and everything you need to run that property really efficiently. But that same 10 unit that only produces 30,000 a year, makes 300 grand, you're not going to be able to have that same amount of staff. So this depends on what you're going to be looking for. And in that same example, that 10 unit that produces $1 million a year is going to be a lot more expensive based on different things like the market, the cap rate, different criteria like that. So you need to hone in what it is you're looking for, the price range, and the criteria, the parameters around the deals that you can be able to take down. And then also, I want it to be for like my deals, I want them to be located in popular destination markets that are growing, have a sufficient labor pool, and have sound underlying market economics, right? Supply and demand, regulation, people traveling there, sources of tourism as well. Like I typically don't like one horse markets unless it's a really strong horse, like a national park or something like that that consistently brings people in. So I typically like multiple sources of tourism. It could be parks, it could be events, it could be local festivals, it could be all the different things that make people want to travel to an area, because that's what's going to fill up your room with guests. They're going to pay money and generate the revenue that you need to operate the business. So when you look at your buy box, I like to think of it as not just the deal itself, but where you're looking, and the market is just as important. So we'll talk about that. And like really what the goal here is to go a mile deep and really understand what it is you're looking to buy, where you're going to buy, so you can be clear with your search, get more high quality leads that convert into you getting deals. Like that is our intention here, is to have you build traction in getting those leads. So thinking about your market, we're going to get into that too, because it's an important thing of where you're going to look. So for me, and this is for you to kind of develop your own, but I'll tell you what I look for is destination markets, right? Like mountains, beach towns, high travel, that welcome recreation and leisure travel, and also have events there. Like where I just bought in the Smokies we're on, it's called the Peaceful Side of the Smokies. And it's a big area. Like the big draw is the national park. We're 2 miles away to the gate. But because of that market, we're in this valley, we've got a lot of space. They've got a visitor center there that brings a lot of people in. We have a lot of annual events. So when we look at that, we schedule those events on our calendar and drive our rates for when we just had one last week actually that we're fully sold out for. And by knowing that in advance, We're able to raise rates, and just goes to show that like what is bringing people to your area is really important. And I like destination markets because of that. Also, I like strong seasonal occupancy. I had some properties in Panama City Beach, still have one in Fort Walton Beach. It really falls off like in November, December. You get a little bit of holiday travel and extended stays, things like that. But January and February are super, super slow. So it really falls off in the high season. Make about 70% of your revenue in about 3 or 4 months in a beach market like that. And then it's really slow the rest of the year. So when you think about building out your portfolio, if you had a bunch of deals that were all in a single beach town, your seasonality would be really affected, and then you could potentially have cash flow issues in the low season. So because of that, I like strong seasonal occupancy markets. And I also like to look at the supply of listings in that market. And really, if you're buying boutique hotels, regulation is even better for you. And that's because if STRs are going to be kicked out of the market as a boutique hotel, you are zoned commercial, and you are not going to be affected by that legislation that's focused on residential Airbnbs, right? Because you're a zone commercial. When the Airbnbs go out of that market, nothing's happening to the demand of people traveling there. There's just less places to stay. So that's going to help you operating the boutique hotel. And then we talked about the size of the deals that you're looking at. And I call this like the tier one scalability. So I want to find deals that have or meet the tier one scalability of like that 20 to 40-ish unit range based on like a 500K or above of revenue, or ideally like 750,000 to $1 million in revenue, because that's going to allow me the revenue I need to hire a team, put in the management structure in place, and not be as involved in the day-to-day. Now, to build momentum and get your first deal, like you don't need to necessarily do that, because you can kind of fit that position of your market manager or location manager, whoever's going to be on site early on in the property, and kind of be that, right? And get the first deal. Maybe it'll be smaller units, it'll be a smaller purchase price. You can get in, learn all the things that you need to take that into the next deal. Very similar to my first deal that was 8 units, right? I wouldn't necessarily buy a smaller 8 unit today unless they were really high income earning units, because I want more scalability in my portfolio. But I'll not take back buying that property in the first place, because it got the ball rolling and got the experience. And then I saw how it all fit together, and then made it a lot easier and lowered that barrier for me to get the next deal. And when you're selecting your market and building your criteria, you want to look at markets that are in the path of progress, that have development going on, that have growing travel trends, that have more people coming into the market, that have things going on that are going to make that a good long-term hold. And, unless your goal is to just flip the property. But everything I do really is about buy and hold, about long-term value creation, about the cash flow that you're going to get from the boutique hotel, because the increased cash flow is so great. So you want to be in a good market that is growing. And as we go into later lessons, we'll talk about how you assess a market based on that with Census Bureau data, with Bureau of Labor Statistics, and population data, job growth data to show, okay, this market is actually growing. Now, there's also this factor about being on the X, like being where people want to go in that market. And maybe it's a ski town, maybe it's the beach, maybe it's by a national park. Like you want to be accessible and close to what's bringing people to that area. So if you're going to buy in a ski market, but be, 5, 10, 15 miles away to where, people, it's really not convenient for people to stay there, and there's more available units and places for them to stay closer to that, to the beach or to the ski resort or to the national park, like they'll fill up there first because they want to be closer to what's bringing them to that area. Unless your hotel's so great that like it is the destination and people are going to plan their trip around staying there. In general, you want to be on the X or what's bringing people there. So just something to think about, of like your proximity to what it is that's bringing people into the area. And ultimately, your goal is to make deals through creativity. Like in any case, all right, we're looking at my example of my criteria here of how we structure the deals, how we finance them, how we're agile and lean with our operations. Like, in my opinion, you can't wait for the perfect deal. You got to find something that's good, that has good potential. And with today's market and interest rates, you can't be too choosy and wait for the home run deal. Like a good single or double for your first deal is all you need to get the momentum going. And then you get the experience under your belt. You build the track record. You make it that much easier to get the next deal, to get more investors to trust in you and invest in your next deal. And you get, the residual benefits of that experience. So essentially, when you're building your criteria, you want to be clear on what kind of asset you're buying, where you're going to be buying, the age, the price, the unit count, or the revenue that you're attacking, and the condition of that asset as well. So with those things in mind, you can have a clear picture and be able to screen deals more easily, talk to brokers, talk to investors, and really be able to share and build out the vision of what you're actually going to do and get more people to respond to that because you're clear, you're decisive, you know what you're going after. If you try doing all this different stuff, it's going to take you in a bunch of different directions, and it's going to be really hard to build the momentum that you need to get deals under contract, get them closed, and start operating.